All right, Chris, thank you for joining me today. Yeah, do you want to just give us a little brief introduction into what you do, your channel, your socials, so folks know what beautiful face they're looking at? Go for it.
My name's Chris. I have been a regular podcaster with Amit on some of the channels that Amit does, and I also have my own channel, which I don't really post it too much. I just haven't had the time to really contribute a lot to some of the stuff that I would like to, and instead I just focus mostly on Twitter for now. At some point in the future, I'll probably do more videos on it. But yeah, I've been investing for like the last 15 years. I've had my highs, I've had my lows. I've had places where I've done exceptionally well, and then there's others that haven't done so well. This year has been actually pretty good. I think markets like this are great opportunities to pick up things on the cheap that not a lot of people really realize. There's a lot of great things out there right now, and I think one of the ones that I really like is, of course, Tesla. I was a huge buyer when Tesla had dropped to 100. I bought a lot of great options contracts at the time, and I was able to sit on them and do really well. And hopefully, this is not just this is not the point where Tesla's going to stop. It's going to keep going, and there's a lot of myriad of reasons to it. Whether
Mm.
it be macro conditions that are just supporting the stock price, and also some of the macro trends that are happening. So I think we can deep dive into a lot of that stuff, and I think it'll be an interesting conversation. What do you think?
Yeah, man, let's do it. I love it. I
Yeah.
think I think what I'm actually curious to hear is what. So was that the first time you invested in Tesla? Or were you in the name before?
Actually, so this is the heartbreaking thing.
Okay.
Around 2011, 2012, my dad had, I think, about $25,000 of Tesla invested. And I thought I was the savvy investor. So I said, "Yeah, Dad, what are you doing? This car company is never going to make it off the ground. There's this guy, his name is Jim Chanos. He's like a famous short investor. And
Oh
he came
no.
up with all this articles on it, and I was like, Dad, come on." And my
Damn.
dad had lost money in the past. So he was like, just, really like shaken by that. So he's like, okay, maybe I'll just sell the whole thing. Right. So he sold out completely. And then, of course, time goes by and I never think of anything of it. And then 2000 happens and the thing just starts to climb like crazy. And then one day my dad calls,
Damn.
and ever since then, I've had like this pit of guilt in my soul, right? Because I'm like, number one, my dad could have been a multimillionaire. I mean, he's okay, he's fine right now, but he could have been a multimillionaire. And I'm the reason why he's not a multimillionaire
Oh
because
man.
so it's one of those things that like once in a while my dad will like take a shot at, and he'll just be like, "Hey, you remember that time you told me to sell Tesla?" I said, "Dad, there's also that time in 2000 during the IPO when I told you to buy Google and you never did." So,
Yeah, there you go.
so he's like, "Okay." So like so sometimes like, he's retired and so his financial condition is good. Like the thing about my dad is that ever since he was young, he's always been like a hustler. So he's like, "Oh, I need to just keep investing in things." I mean, this is the type of dude. One day he calls me up. I think this was like 2012, 2013. I was formerly in the army, and so when I got out, he calls me up. He's Indian, so he went to India for like, a month vacation, whatever. He calls me up and
What
he
part of
says,
India?
"Hey."
My wife's stepfather's from India.
Oh,
Yeah.
Gujarat. She's Gujarat.
Okay.
My dad's Gujarati. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So funny thing. So he calls me up and he's like, "Look, I want to buy this land, but I don't have any money right now. What can you do for me?" And I'm like, what do you call you? I'm not JP Morgan Chase. Like, what are you calling me for? He's like, "I know, but you got that government cheese, so hook me up." And I was like, I guess I do, and I don't really need it. I didn't really need it at the time, so I sent him the money, as much money I had. I just sent it to him. And yeah, he invested in like a lot of like land in India at the time. So he's
Yeah.
always had this thing with America's not the future. India is the future. And so at the time I
Mm.
was like, bro, I'm buying mango plantations in India. What's going on here right now? You know? And listen, Farzad,
That's
smartest
amazing.
move this dude ever made.
Of course.
He must have 10x'd on this. So I'm like, bro, if this US dollar thing doesn't work out, come
Yeah.
by all means, all you guys are invited to Chris Patel's mango plantation in India. Come through. Come through.
Oh my
So
god. That's so funny,
yeah.
dude. Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
that background. Holy god. Yeah, I
Yeah.
I I wouldn't, dude, like I wouldn't beat yourself up. I mean, who knows? Like even back in
Yeah.
2011 with the whole Tesla story, like it was so up in the air. I got into the name late 2012. So December 2012 was my first shares that I purchased. And it was
Mhm.
dumb luck for me because I just stumbled upon the name while I was looking to research, stocks. I had just graduated college a few years before, finally had a real job, finally was starting to make money. I was crazy in debt, out of college. My parents didn't have a lot. They moved out of Iran in '79 when the revolution happened, and they went to Spain with nothing, basically, and then went to the States with nothing, basically. So they're trying to build a life, and the investing game for me was like, okay, how can I become uh like independent from a financial perspective, so I can pay off
Mhm.
this stupid student loan, so I can buy a house,
Yeah.
so I can court a lady that will find me attractive,
Yeah.
like how
Yep.
can I make stuff happen? And the Tesla name was just dumb luck, and it was what really drove conviction for me was the retail investing community that was around it, especially at that time with
Mhm.
Tesla Motors, club forums and stuff like that. It was just so unique, and
Yeah.
I had never seen anything for any other name, and I was pretty new to the story. And then the more I get exposed to other names in the investing world, the more I
Yeah.
find that the whole Tesla situation is just so unique especially
Mhm.
from a retail perspective, because I feel like retail has a outsized advantage when it comes to understanding the Tesla story specifically.
Yeah.
And that has taught me a lot of lessons, just broadening my horizons around how to research companies and stuff. And
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm talking about. Not investment advice always and forever,
Yeah.
but it's also kind of been a huge learning lesson for me because I think I've picked up a few ways on how to identify things that seem to be generational or just are completely
Mhm.
disrupting certain areas. And there seem to be
Yeah.
commonalities between spaces. It's not only specific to, say, the auto or specific to smartphones or software. Typically, the
Yeah.
recipes exist across every single industry that would point towards a company having a lot of potential. So, but just to give you a little bit of
Mm.
background of where I'm at with this, because
Mhm.
I unfortunately I was on the other side. I told my parents to buy some, and then they did okay, but
Hmm.
it wasn't too much. It was a
Yeah.
tiny amount, but nothing
Mhm.
crazy. Yeah, man, it's
Yeah.
just been a wild name to follow. It's been a wild name to
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah, I think the best advice that I ever got from investing actually came from not a real investing professional, but from a nurse. Basically, I used to work, in a hospital, and one of the nurses I used to work with, she gave me some really good advice. I wish I had taken it up because if I had taken some of her advice, I'd be retired right now. She said to me, and it's a very simple investing strategy, but it works very well. She told me, what are some of the things in your life that you utilize all the time and that you can't live without? And I said, well, X, Y, and Z, blah, blah, blah. She's like, okay, so just buy some shares in those companies and you'll be fine.
Mm,
And that's it. And that was her investing strategy. It wasn't anything like super complicated. It wasn't anything crazy. And I had said, I was trying to learn from like CNBC. I think
mm,
one of the things is CNBC, and then I looked at some of the other like more traditional traders where they would do more technical based trading, where they would follow like, oh, the PE of a company is like this, so you should buy it at this price. That this is not a fair value. And I think so many great companies have been missed by people because they try to focus too much on the metrics in the balance. I'm not saying that you shouldn't focus on the balance sheet and the operating cash flows and stuff. I do that. I encourage everyone to learn how to do it, but there's also other things about it too, like the growth story behind the name. And there's a reason why sometimes like people are like, oh, this company is overvalued. And the question is though, you should be asking yourself, why is it overvalued?
exactly.
Like what do people see that I'm not seeing, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes the numbers don't reflect that. And I've seen friends that have told me like, "Oh, you're buying Tesla?" Like, dude, that's not your style. You don't you look at the fundamentals. And I'm like, "Yeah, like look at the growth that they have. Look at the cash flows that they have. Look at the opportunities that they have for future growth, right?" So
Yeah.
I think that when you combine both the understanding of a product and then you combine it with the great numbers, you get yourself a really good investing thesis and you could use that to really do well in the market. So I'm not saying ignore CNBC. Definitely pick at their brains for advice, but don't look at them and be like, okay, they're the sole reason I should buy. And don't go on YouTube and be like, okay, yeah, just because this one random YouTuber said to buy the stock, it's gonna be
Yeah.
great too. Because I guarantee, like, trust me, they're probably just as lost as you are,
Yes.
for the most part. So just,
Me.
not you. I wasn't gonna say you, man. There's other people. There's other
It's-
people. No shade to any. No shade to other YouTubers. Okay, no shade to you guys. But
It's an
so
excellent point.
yeah. So I think overall investing it's just different for everyone, and also the circumstances by which everyone has are different too. Like if you have disposable income at your fingertips, you have extra money laying around, and you're not going to need the money, then you're in a different place than someone who's like, okay, I need to buy a house, so I'm not gonna buy too much into a stock or whatever because I know that
Mm,
I need this liquid capital right away. So everyone's circumstances are different. Everyone investing style is different. Me, I have like both a short portfolio and a long portfolio where I have not short as in I short companies, but like I know that
mm,
these companies are super undervalued in the short term, and then once people wake up to it, they'll spike. And then my other portfolio is just 10 years away, where it's like, look, I see some great opportunities for this company, and they are right now valued maybe excessive a little bit, or they're not generating too much profit, but in 10 years they're going to be beasts.
mm,
And if especially if you see something like that firsthand, it's amazing. Like I see me, I'm being in the technology space, so I work in radiology IT, and some of the things that I'm seeing happening with like AI, like you guys will be shocked. Like it's crazy
I
the amount
believe it.
of innovation that's happening. So I would say 10 years from now, I think medicine itself is going to be dramatically different than what it is today. And so there's a lot of companies in the medical sphere that I look at regularly, and I'm like, yeah, this is something that's worth investing in.